Heads up for property owners on Ocean Isle Beach. Vehicle decals are available for pickup. These are for re-entry after a storm or even bridge closure. They are not for paid parking. Once again, not for paid parking. They're for re-entry after a storm or bridge closure. Each person can get 5 decals for $10. You can pick them up from now until June 1st. If you can't do that, you can mail a check with the request form. Now, after the deadline of June 1st, you'll only be allowed 1 decal for a $10 fee.